Hi, I'm Hope, came for IPF, and welcome to hamradio.world. We have this Kohler KX Plus heatsink that we got from Simply Better Manufacturing. Daddy and I are going to make a video on how to install this to the KX3. So here we have our KX3 and our heatsink. The first thing we need to do, though, is ground ourselves. So Daddy, can you tell me about that?
Okay, Hope. Well, we're really not doing this the right way. We don't have the right things to do, but we're outside and we're in Florida and it's about 70% humidity, so the chances of us having static discharge that could ruin the components inside the radio are pretty low. But what we're doing to minimize the chance of us having static is we are both sitting on cotton towels, because when you rub cotton you don't get static. The radio is sitting on a cotton towel, and we actually have the ground wire from where you and Grace grounded your ICOM 7300 yesterday to try it out for winter field day. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to touch this to the radio here, and we're going to ground the radio, and if there's any electricity in there, we're going to get rid of that electricity. Then I'm going to touch the ground rod, and then you can touch it. Now, we know this is not the proper way you're supposed to do this. You should be using what they call an electrostatic discharge mat, which is grounded, and you put your radio on it. You should also have a wrist strap called an electrostatic discharge wrist strap. We don't have those, and we are hoping that we're not going to mess up the radio, and really hoping and praying we don't mess up the radio, because it's a nice radio and we don't want to break it. So let's, once again, just to be safe, we'll ground the radio again, we'll ground Daddy, we'll ground Hope. Okay, so the first thing that you need to do, Hope, is you have two screws here that need to be removed. You just take your screwdriver and you carefully remove them. Okay, remember that's the long one. Okay, now there's another in here. There's a black screw in the parts that we got. Do you see it?
Yep.
This is basically to test to see if the threads in here are going to work with these really high precision machine screws. Some of the older KX3s, we understand, and we read in the instructions, can have some oxidation from these screws, and we need to make sure that the precision screws are going to go in. So you're going to try to screw that in by hand.
So
very
you don't
carefully.
break the screw.
Yeah, you need to make sure it's going to go in.
No, that's too tight.
All right,
It's
that's
not
catching.
working.
Okay, well, let's try this one and see over here.
No, that one's also catching, so that's not going to work.
Okay, so that means that these screws that we have here aren't going to work in there unless we tap out the threads in here. So what we're going to need to do is, I'm going to take this to a friend who has a tap and die set, and the tap is essentially a really hard screw that will clean out those threads, or if we wanted to, we'll, like on a regular, just a hole we drilled, we could put threads on there. It cuts threads into it. So we're going to go get a 440 tap, and I will carefully clean out those screws, or those holes, and hopefully the precision screws will fit. So we're going to have to wait until tomorrow to finish this job, because Zechariah and I are getting ready to go over to a friend's house to work on some Arduino stuff. So we're not going to have time to finish this today, but we at least found out that we have an issue with our threads in here and we need to fix them.
So here we have taken off the back cover of the KX3, and we have already tapped this hole out, and you want to use a 440 taper tap. And so as you can see, it works. As before, it would not work. And so we're not going to film, however, the tapping of this side, as we didn't for this one, because Daddy's doing the tapping, and it's a little tough, but it's not too tough, but you know, Daddy's got to do it. So now let's get back to putting on the heatsink to the KX3. First off, it's a little windy today, so you may hear some wind noise. But we did find out for grounding that it's better to hold the KX3 while you ground yourself so that you are the
same electrical
same electrical potential. And so now I'll ground myself into the KX3.
And I will ground myself in the KX3. And as we said yesterday, this isn't exactly the proper way to do this. You should be using an electrostatic discharge mat and a wrist strap, but we don't have that. And it is Florida. We're sitting on cotton, so that doesn't generate any static electricity. And it's also about 70% humidity. So the chance of having static electricity is not very high.
So we're hoping that it won't matter.
All right, so Hope, let's talk about what did we do last night. We tapped out these 2 holes, and then we tested them with the black testing screw there. That's the wrong way.
Oh, sorry. And as you see, it screws in,
Yep.
as it does the other one.
So we used a 440 paper tap to get rid of the oxidation, and it was pretty snug to get it out, and a lot of oxidation came out. When we did it, we made sure that the radio was face down so that oxidation and any metal chips didn't go into the radio, because you don't want to short anything out, right?
Yes,
Okay.
you do not want to do that. So as you see, now that we know that the test screw works, we should test these.
Okay, so those are the screws that are actually going to be used to hold the heatsink in. That one goes in fine. What about over here?
So they work.
I think you're going to get to do another hello, because I hear the ice cream man coming. Okay, so now it does work. The screws work. So Hope, we're going to open the case. Do you remember how we loosen these screws here? No, just by these here.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you loosen them, but not all the way.
They're a little tight. I'm not sure which way to go.
Okay.
Could you get them?
So they go counterclockwise to open. So it goes away from you on that side. Goes
Oh,
away
this-
from you. Yep.
There.
Okay, that's pretty good. Do the other one. Okay. So now when we open this, we have to be very careful, because remember there's a ribbon.
The ribbon wire.
The ribbon cables in here
Yeah.
that can be broken.
So we have to be very careful which side we open up.
Well, yeah, and also the way that you handle it when you open it up. So this is still catching a little bit. So we're opening it up.
See, the ribbon is easily broken, so you have to be careful.
Yep, you have to be careful. All right, so here is the radio open. Now we have some batteries in here so that we can operate it without an external battery. So the next thing you need to do, Hope, is take out the batteries. And you need to use your fingernails. Don't use something sharp to do it, because if you sharp it and poke the battery, you break something. Can you get it?
I don't know.
Here, no. Best way to do it is look at where the springs are, and then pull it like that. Okay, be careful not to hit this board.
Can you get his little hard?
You want me to get it?
Yeah.
Okay. They are hard to do.
So afterwards, when we have the batteries out, what will we be doing, Daddy?
Well, we have to read that in the instructions and see.
Because we want to be sure.
Yep. So we hear the airplanes flying over.
The wind
We're in the
blowing.
traffic pattern for the local airport, which is DeLand, or KDED. Why don't you, as we take these out, talk about what you did today, earlier.
Well, earlier we flew with the EAA Young Eagles flight, and so we had a lot of fun with that. Sky and I flew together in the Piper Warrior, and we also got to talk to the others on ham radio.
From Airplane Mobile?
Yes,
That's
from
cool.
Airplane Mobile, and of course with the pilot's permission.
These are tight. Okay, so now we've got them out. So the next thing we need to do, after we get these batteries out, is we've got these nuts here, and I'll show them to you. I think we can see them on the video. So these nuts here are used to hold these little screws in, here and here. And those can actually, well, when you unscrew the screws, they will actually fall off. So what I'm going to do, Hope, is I'm going to let you unscrew these screws while I take a pair of needle nose pliers and hold on. Now this electrolytic capacitor, you have to be very careful not to mess up that capacitor. Let's do the one closest to you first. Be very careful not to mess up that capacitor.
That's why I use the small needle nose.
Yep. Okay. So get it out. So we've got it out. And then we'll do this one and get a hold of it.
Ready?
Yep. Okay. So now the factory heatsink can come off. We're not going to use this anymore. All right, that's the factory heatsink.
So now we will trade it out for this heat sink.
Okay, so so we need to do the hole that's closest to the VNC connector here. All right, so we're going to thread. We need to put the heatsink on. We need to figure out how it goes. Okay, so we have the holes lining up. Okay, so we need to be careful that we use a 3/8 inch screw instead of a 5/8 inch screw. Okay, so we need to use this. So what we need to do is you get that screw, put the screw in here, down here, okay? Maybe if you put it on the Allen wrench first, it will work better. Okay, so go ahead and put it on. Okay, is it starting to bite in?
I think so.
Okay, go ahead and do another one.
Okay, let's line it up. There it is.
Oh, hold on a second. On the other end, you need to use the 5/8. You need to use the long ones. Let me look at it and see. Yeah, on the other end, it's kind of hard to see in here, but the 5/8 inch screw on the other end actually goes into a hole on this board here, and the whole idea of the 5/8 inch screw is to fit all the way in and hold this board onto the other circuit board. Okay? Do you
That's
see
a
the
good
hole in it?
idea.
Do you see the hole in it?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's why we need to use the 5/8 inch there.
I don't know if the video can, but I can. Line. Doesn't seem to be lined up. I don't think we lined. Oh, we are. It's just not going now because it's so long.
You know, this one you go ahead and tighten down.
Okay.
Now you tighten this one back down. Okay.
And we had a little extra over here with the leg phone.
Okay.
I'm just gonna screw that back on.
So we're not using the same screws that came with it. We're using stainless steel screws, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So now what we need to do is we need to Okay, so now these other 3-inch screws, 3/8-inch screws go into here. Okay, so
we'll need to get those, get the washers.
Yes. We get these captive lock. These are called captive lock nut washers because the lock nut is actually already on it. So I'm going to hold it here. You're going to go in this hole here. We've got to work to get it to come in. Okay, it looks like it's starting to bite into the nut.
Yes,
Is it?
it is
Okay.
tight. Let me try to
Okay.
get it a little more
Right.
tight.
Don't get it too tight. There you go.
Yeah, just a little tighter. Get it in.
Because if you go too tight with these, you can break the head off the screws. And that would probably not be something you wanted to do.
No, it would not.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, let me see how tight you got it. You could have gone a little bit tighter, but it's good to actually not go too tight to begin with. Now I'll test this one. That one's in there good. And then we'll test this one. I can't see where it goes without getting in front of the camera. Okay, thank you. Yeah, that one's good and tight. Okay, so do we need to be doing anything else? It says we need to replace the batteries. So there's extra hardware here. And that extra hardware is for just in case we had the 2-meter option, which we don't have. So let's kind of hold this up and we'll show, see if we can show where the screw goes through that board. Can you point to that with your screwdriver hook?
Yeah. It goes right here. And as you may see, there's a board and it goes through.
Okay. And then show the captive lock nut washers that we had to use. So
Right here.
there, and then that
And
one.
they're right next to the capacitor.
Okay. Yeah. So now we reinstall the batteries. The negative goes to the spring.
As you can see, negative, positive. Putting in is a little easier than taking out.
Yes, it is. Okay, so now we're going to close it up, being careful not to mess up our ribbon cable.
We must be careful of that. Very careful.
The ice cream guy never did come, did he?
Well, I'm kind of glad.
Tightened up. Here he comes.
Does he have to come and ruin our videos every time?
Okay, so look, now you've got the heat sink on the KX3. Now for the real test, did we break the radio? Try turning it on.
And minus. Right. Yes, it works.
We didn't break the radio.
That's a relief.
Yes, it is.
Not too hard, but something that you want to be careful of. So that is how you install your Cooler KX Plus heatsink from Simply Better Manufacturers. And as you can see, it's not very hard, although you want to be cautious of some things. And please like our videos, share the videos, and please subscribe to our channel. And also, please keep coming back to hamradio.world and seeing all the cool new videos we put on. 73 Cam4 IPF.